Colleen Schmidt from Divination Counseling Service, here today to bring to you the month of May moon ingress into Virgo. It's come to my attention recently through some events that I wanted to backtrack on that I have not been able to keep them but 1 month. So I've decided that in order to keep them longer, I have to include the month of whichever ingress it is, because we have a moon ingress into Virgo every single month, so 12 a year. This way I could keep them, and then maybe next year when I start over again, I can take them off, but by then I would have been able to look back on them. So just for my own education, trying to make these better as I go, I want to be able to look back. So with that said, we're going to look at May's moon ingress into Virgo, which occurs on May 29th, 2020 at 7:41 a.m. in the morning. And this is a rather unusual chart, so I kind of want to start off with that. The first thing I want to talk about is how the moon is not real good in the third house. And that's logic. If that third house is really ruled by Mercury, then we're talking about communication, we're talking about thinking, we're talking about learning, and in some cases, we're talking about neighborhoods, siblings. Those are other things that are affiliated. So all of those things could be factors for us in the next several days. Siblings, neighborhoods. Maybe we're concerned about our neighborhood. And in situations where you have counties on different levels of, like our state, some counties are more open than others, that would be a moon issue, okay? And that would be an interesting moon issue, and we'll get to that with some of the aspects on that moon. The second thing I want to talk about right off the top is that this 5-degree, okay, so here from the third house, our 5-degree Cancer ascendant is actually telling us that the moon rules this chart. So interesting, it's a chart about the moon rules it. It's an emotionally dominated chart in a house that's mental. So just now maybe it will help you understand why it's not a great place for it. Now the thing I also want to point out here is that this moon, 0 degrees of Virgo, has some buddies at 0 degrees of Virgo. We have Hestia, which works a lot like Vesta. She is work and goals. She is about distance. So remember, we're talking about neighborhoods. We could be talking about distant neighborhoods. And in my state alone, you don't have to go very far, 30 minutes, and you're in a territory that's much more open than we are. We're closed. And in a world where we have a lot of commuters, it is possible for you to work in one area and live in another. And I definitely think that might be a factor for some people in the next month, or the fact that some areas get to open up and others don't, and there's always those issues. Now, let's look at a couple of things that rest and reside right there at those degree points of 0, okay, just in this chart itself. So here we have questions about slowness and withdrawal. Should I not bother working? Okay, should I not? It's slow. Is it going to be slow? We don't know. We don't know what it's going to be like. We're here where we've never been before. So there's a concern about that. The aggression of Mars is that a lot of people are doing things because of anger, and maybe not their own personal anger, but maybe the anger of others. So again, you've got, there's not really an aspect here, but we got to look at that because it's on the midheaven, which is an angle of this chart. The other thing I wanted to point out is decisions, particularly as we relate to families, people within families or organizations or groups. Decisions, it's a retrospect, it's all in retrograde, but it's almost as though a lot of decisions are being made and maybe we're not considering this element, the oppressed people, the people that are not as healthy. I want to talk about that because, you know, we're really in deep thought here, and what we're experiencing in terms of news, what we're hearing, it may not be in total agreement to what we're feeling, okay? So that's confusing, all right? And that, I do believe that's going on, definitely. Now, when I pull up the report, and I think it's really important to look at this report, you're going to notice here that the moon Still has a lot of aspects, but not as many as we've had for the last couple of weeks. Perhaps it's because especially those people that rammed out there into the world are now maybe hitting walls. It's a possibility. I do see lessons learned, opportunities to learn lessons through that in conjunct to Saturn, but I also want to point out the node and the Apollon, which are in the sextile. That's also opportunities. This whole thing is, these are, it's sort of like you learn a lesson because you set yourself up for one. That's an in conjunct. The sextile is more of an opportunity. Let's take a chance to do this. Let's take an opportunity to do that. And you do get that. Businesses and connections, businesses are looking at different ways to function that are safe, okay? And that's, we got to do that if we want to be successful, because this chart is just talking about it, is not going away. This pandemic is not going away, not fast enough, okay? And honestly, as an astrologer and knowing what I know, no, it's not. And I'm going to be really frank with you. As long as Adamito stays at this low degree, see that 1 degree of Gemini? Okay. Remember, 0 degrees of Virgo. For those of you who know this, that's a square. Okay. So as long as Adamitus is having some aspect on that moon, there are delays, there are obstacles, it's restrictions, it's boulders we can't move. And honestly, when it comes to this, I'm going to try and say it, but we have an asteroid in astrology, Thucydides. So a lot of you will know how to say it better than I do. I'm terrible at that. I study it. I know it. I know what it means. I know what it means if I see it in your chart. Don't ask me to say it. It takes me a really long time on the verbal to verbal. But I can tell you that this asteroid has been at 20, it's right now at 24 degrees. It's with Pluto. Let's be really frank. Let's get right to the point. So here we've got our Capricorn Pluto here, okay, kind of cusping the 7th to the 8th house. And I really want you to look at this, because this is exactly where this pandemic lies, okay, that we're following as astrologers. And honestly, it is about one-to-one encounters and not knowing that either if you have it or if you're healthy enough, what about the people you're talking to or you're having interactions with? So are they healthy enough? And the Saturn falls there. So the lesson is that we also have to think about other people. So, and I do want to point out that it is retrograde, this asteroid, and it's going back over the Aries point. So I want to point that out, that this pandemic's still with us for a while, okay? And we are learning to live within it, because Chiron, which you see up here in the 10th house, of course, our future, especially of the outer life, is about healing. And it went into Aries, it ingressed, and I should look at doing this chart. In 2019, it will be there till 2027, and during that time, we're supposed to be doing a lot of healing. Let's hope that we are. In any event, thank you for tuning in, and please comment, like, share, get this information out there. I would love nothing more than for more people to understand astrology, or for that matter, tarot. So if you have any questions, you want any private work done, please contact me through divinationcounselingservice.org. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to meet you. And until we meet again, happy readings.